Money FM 89.3, the best of Saturday mornings. Saturday morning sit down.
We are going to talk now about the latest exhibit that is at the ArtScience Museum here in Singapore. It is called Another World is Possible, and it is an exhibit about alternative realities. The groundbreaking exhibit explores the power of world building across cinema, design, architecture, literature in envisioning a better tomorrow. Joining us in the studio now to talk more about it, Joshua Lau, the assistant curator at the ArtScience Museum. Joshua, good morning. Great to have you with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting my head around this exhibition. I'm hoping you can straighten me out. Okay, so we've got alternative worlds, we've got world building, we've got cinema, design, architecture, a better world. You're working with the filmmaker and architect Liam Young, immersing us in this landscape and cinematic world. Walk me through it.
Sure. I'll give a simplified version.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah. So, Another World is Possible is ArtScience Museum's latest landmark exhibition. It opens today, actually.
Great.
And the exhibition is really sort of exploring, how we dream and how we imagine the future. I think, when we think about the future, we often think about very dystopian, very dark times from mass media, screen culture. But this exhibition brings together over 100 exhibits from over 40 designers, artists, architects, contributors that really show a different version of the future, that being one bound by resilience, hope, creativity. And I think we're also really honored to be working, like you said, with, BAFTA-nominated producer Liam Young, as well as ACME, the Australian Centre for Moving Image in Melbourne, Australia, to really sort of craft this exhibition that allows people to walk through different visions and versions of worlds by different creatives.
So what does it look like? You walk in and give us one example of something you see.
Definitely. I think, when visitors first walk into the beginning gallery, they're essentially walking into a gallery that we've outfitted to look like a forest. And I think we sort of leaned into this whole idea of Singapore being a city in a garden, but sort of starting to bring in tones and textures of Southeast Asia that really showcase, this idea that the future is something both familiar and a little bit unknown, and that we navigate through it. And as they walk through the different galleries, they're essentially walking into immersive spaces, each, whether they are large-scale audiovisual works, projections, are they, built-up environments, getting people to sort of envision different kinds of worlds that are possible.
This comparison is not going to be great, but the Frida Kahlo exhibit. Did you?
I was working on that.
You were working on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm feeling like there's elements that are similar in terms of you walk into spaces and there's videos, there's physical artifacts as well as video artifacts. Is that a fair?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
I think the Frida Kahlo exhibition was what we like to deem more like an immersive experience, with large scale exhibitions. I think
it was wonderful, by the way. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think for this show, I think we definitely still lean into that idea of, immersive environments. But we also really wanted to showcase, like you said, different artifacts, different sculptures that really sort of bring a certain materiality and tactility to these worlds. It's not just, a video, it's not just visuals, but you're really being able to touch and feel what these worlds might look like, which I think really helps people to imagine the possibilities of the future rather than it constantly existing in the imagination.
Over the years since ArtScience Museum opened, and we've been having Honor on and other people since the very beginning, it seems like the museum itself is not moving away from, but shifting into new types of exhibits. So we had Mars, we had Star Wars, we had or NASA rather, Star Wars and others over the years that had more physical things, and now we're getting much more into, I think, the creative video and visual and different types of mediums space with many of the exhibits. Is that fair?
I think it is fair to a certain degree. I think a lot about what we sort of curate at the museum is also very much guided by, what work exists out there by creators, designers, whoever they might be. I think for us, the focus has always been how do we present the intersection between art, science, technology, and, the imagination of the future. And I think, what we start to see in the industry definitely guides us. And I think we are sort of presenting, what sort of new forthcoming works are
flowing with
there.
the trends of the day, which was appropriate, I think, and realistic. This one sounds really, really interesting. Now, 100 works by 40 contributors? Is that what?
That's right. So it was a lot. 100.
How does that all come together?
Definitely, I've been asked that a lot. I think. We very thankfully as well had the support of Design Singapore Council, who supported the show. So I think for us, we had over 40 contributors, of which nearly half were Singaporean or Singapore-based. And from that, we actually managed to have the opportunity to commission a lot of new works to be shown during the exhibition. I think for us as well, the very nature of having over 40 contributors was kind of the intent of the show. We wanted to show how wide a diversity of worlds are possible and how different cultures can really sort of bleed into, the imagination of tomorrow. Yeah.
So you go to these 40 contributors and you say, create the world of tomorrow for us. Were they all commissioned, or were the stuff that they had already done?
No. So a lot of them were existing works, or we were sort of commissioning them to update them. I think we would have loved to commission over 40. Unfortunately, that
a big
requires
order.
A lot of effort. But I think we were already inspired, by so many of the works that had existed. And I think even during our research and the development of the show, when we started to see all these different designers presenting their own ideas, I think we ourselves were sort of taken aback at the creativity that exists and the amount of resilience that they're really showing in sort of crafting a space for the future amidst, the present times that might be more challenging for them. Yeah.
You mentioned there was a relationship with the museum in Australia?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So,
what's happening there?
This exhibition was presented alongside ACME, the Australian Centre for Moving Image in Melbourne, Australia. So they actually did a show that opened last year and closed in April this year called The Future and Other Fictions. So ACME, being sort of a screen-based institution, they really looked at, world building from the point of view of cinema, television. How do these creators in this industry really build out worlds using character design, costume design? And I think they sort of really set a really good base for the show that we wanted to do. We were very much inspired by that work, and we sort of built upon it. And I think what also really inspired us to sort of develop the show further was that in the original show, The Future and Other Fictions, they really sort of looked at Australian First Nations practices and works and imaginations. And for us, bringing it to Singapore, I think, again, we wanted to really find a way to localize it to the region, to really resonate with our audiences here in ArtScience Museum.
How is it localized?
So I think,
obviously there's Singaporean artists involved, but
I think the show is very, at the heart of the show really, and the inspiration behind the show is really showcasing Southeast Asia and Singapore, mainly the unique view that exists here about the future, that being, this vision of the future that where technology is not really at odds with the human or the natural world, but they really all coexist. And this was something that we started to realize came out organically during our research for the show. And we realized that that's a really unique vision here in Singapore and actually present in many regional cultures. So whether that be Thailand, the Philippines, Singapore, obviously, anywhere from East Asia to Southeast Asia, those were all those stories and imaginations that we were bringing together in the show.
Talking with Joshua Lau, Assistant Curator at the ArtScience Museum. The latest exhibit is Another World is Possible, which is looking at world building across cinema, design, architecture, literature, envisioning a better tomorrow. Joshua, you're an artist yourself. You work in creative nonfiction writing, drawing, inspiration from multidisciplinary things you've done in the past. As an artist, how do you feel when you walk through this exhibit with all of these, very different and a lot of exhibits that you have. In
this. I get what you mean. I think it can definitely feel, I think, in the moment, slightly overwhelming. There's so many different visions, but I think, that's almost the whole point. Is like I am experiencing so many different visions, and it's not meant to really make me decide, which is the one I per se prefer or that I choose, but it's more about really getting me to think and reflect upon where I'm at with my own position in my community, in my space. I think that's what I take from the show when I walk through it.
Generationally, do you think this will be viewed differently from a Gen Z versus a baby boomer or a pioneer generation?
Definitely, I think so, and I think we also we had that in mind when we were researching and developing the show. I think we present different visions from different sort of perspectives, people who have more of a focus on, let's say, memory and historical presence and cultural presence practices. But we also sort of look at, the younger generation. And I think for us, young people are essentially the future. It's their world to live in. And we also have a really dear commission to us, which was that we commissioned a new work that involved 25 young people from Singapore with Halogen and 10 Futures. And they came together in a workshop to really discuss what Singapore would look like in 2100. And we got art design research agency Superlative Futures to come in and create these objects that are almost artifacts from these worlds that these young people sort of imagined of Singapore.
Wow. I mean, that sounds quite otherworldly.
Yes, definitely. I hope so. Yeah.
What the exhibit, and if you go on the ArtScience Museum website, you kind of get a flavor of what this is going to look like, and it's pretty wild. It goes basically from now until the 22nd of February.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and obviously people can get tickets online and all that sort of stuff. As somebody walks out of this, what do you hope their response is going to be?
Well, I mean, I think the response, is theirs to own. It's, I think we can only encourage a response. And I think for me, as being part of the curatorial team, my encouragement and my hope is that, when people walk out of the show, that they feel that there is a space and for them in this world, and that their voice is valid when we imagine the future. And I hope that, that no matter the current circumstances that they might be surrounded with living in, that they realize that, as the name of the exhibition says, another world really is possible. Yeah.
Awesome. Joshua, thank you for coming in. Joshua Lau, Assistant Curator at the ArtScience Museum. The exhibit is Another World is Possible running now until February 2026. Come back and see us again.
Thank you.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.